Hidden strength. The massive Vexari warships darkened Earth's skies like artificial storm clouds, their silhouettes blotting out the sun as they positioned themselves over major population centers. It had been 3 weeks since the alien armada first appeared at the edge of our solar system, broadcasting their intent in flawless English. Your resources are now property of the Vexari Collective. Resistance will result in extinction. In the underground command center beneath what remained of Geneva, Admiral Elena Wright stared at the holographic display showing the rapidly deteriorating situation. Her weathered face, lined with decades of military service, betrayed no emotion as another red dot blinked out. London had fallen. "Status report on the orbital defense platforms," she demanded, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around her. "All but 3 have been destroyed, Admiral," replied Colonel Marcus Jameson, wiping sweat from his dark brow. "The remaining platforms are operating at 30% capacity. They won't last another hour." Admiral Wright nodded curtly. The Vexari technology was centuries beyond Earth's conventional military capabilities. Their energy shields effortlessly absorbed missile impacts, and their plasma weapons cut through Earth's most advanced fighters like they were made of paper. The United Earth Defense Force had fought valiantly, but they were hopelessly outmatched. "How much time do we need?" Wright asked, turning to the communications officer. "Dr. Morales says Project Thunderbolt requires another 48 hours to fully deploy," Lieutenant Olivia Chen replied, her fingers flying across her console. "But we're losing ground fast, Admiral. Civilian casualties are in the millions." The weight of command pressed down on Wright's shoulders. She had known this day might come, humanity's first contact with a hostile alien civilization. What she hadn't anticipated was how quickly Earth's defenses would crumble. "Tell all remaining forces to engage in Protocol Omega," she finally said. "Full retreat to secondary positions. We need to buy those 48 hours at any cost." Across the room, Colonel Jameson's expression hardened. "Protocol Omega, Admiral. That's a suicide mission for our remaining troops." "I'm aware, Colonel," Wright replied, her gray eyes flashing. "But Dr. Morales needs time, and we're going to give it to him." Thousands of miles away, deep beneath the Antarctic ice sheet, Dr. Javier Morales worked feverishly alongside his team in the most classified research facility on the planet. Project Thunderbolt had been humanity's best-kept secret for the past decade. A revolutionary weapons system that harnessed zero-point energy, drawing power from the quantum vacuum itself. "Push the calibration to maximum," Morales instructed, his voice hoarse from lack of sleep. "We don't have time for safety margins anymore." Dr. Tanika Nkosi, the project's lead engineer, looked up from her station with concern. "Javier, the containment fields aren't stable at those levels. We could lose the entire facility if something goes wrong." "If we don't get this online in the next 2 days, there won't be a planet left to save," Morales replied, running a hand through his salt and pepper hair. "Admiral Wright is sacrificing thousands of soldiers to buy us time. We can't waste it." The massive underground chamber hummed with energy as the experimental generators powered up. Project Thunderbolt wasn't just a weapon. It was a complete paradigm shift in energy manipulation. If it worked, it would allow humanity to tap into limitless power. If it failed, the Antarctic continent might be reduced to a molten crater. In orbit above Earth, Supreme Commander Vexther of the Vexari Collective watched the battle with detached interest. To him, this conquest was merely routine, another primitive world to be harvested for resources and slaves. The humans had put up more resistance than expected, but the outcome was never in doubt. "Their orbital defenses are nearly eliminated, Supreme Commander," reported his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Zeril. "Shall we begin the final assault?" Vexther's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of confirmation in Vexari body language. "Proceed. Target their remaining military installations, then their governmental structures. Once their leadership is eliminated, the rest will surrender." The Vexari battle cruisers repositioned, their massive hull plates shifting like the scales of a serpent. Energy built up along their forward arrays as they prepared to deliver the killing blow to humanity's remaining defenses. Energy spike detected from the planet's southern polar region, a sensor operator suddenly announced. Unusual readings, Supreme Commander, like nothing in our database. Vexter turned toward the display with mild curiosity. A last desperate weapon? Analyze and report. Before the analysis could be completed, a blinding beam of blue-white energy erupted from Antarctica, slicing through the atmosphere and striking the Vexari flagship. The beam passed through the advanced energy shields as if they weren't there, cutting the massive warship in half before dissipating. In the stunned silence that followed, Vexter could only stare as his most powerful vessel broke apart, secondary explosions rippling along its spine as it began to fall toward Earth's atmosphere. "Impossible," he whispered. On the Antarctic base, Dr. Morales stared at the readings with a mixture of awe and terror. "It worked," he breathed. "The zero-point energy beam penetrated their shields completely." "But the power consumption is off the charts," Dr. Nkosi warned. "The generators can't sustain this output for long without a complete redesign of the cooling systems." Morales nodded grimly. "We don't need sustained fire. We just need enough shots to make them reconsider their invasion." In Geneva, Admiral Wright watched the destruction of the Vexari flagship with grim satisfaction. "Send word to all remaining forces," she ordered. "Operation Thunderbolt is active. Concentrate all conventional attacks on any vessel damaged by the energy beam." Earth's remaining fighters and orbital platforms shifted targets, focusing their fire on the Vexari ships that had been struck by the Antarctic weapon. Without their shields, the alien vessels proved surprisingly vulnerable to conventional weaponry. The tide of battle began to shift. The Vexari, accustomed to quick and easy conquests, had never encountered a civilization that could penetrate their shields. For the first time, Supreme Commander Vexter faced a tactical problem with no obvious solution. "Pull back to high orbit," he commanded. "Regroup and reassess. This weapon changes our approach." As the Vexari forces retreated to a higher orbital position, humanity gained its first victory and precious time. In command centers around the world, military leaders who had been preparing for the end suddenly found themselves planning counterattacks. Admiral Wright activated a secure channel to Antarctica. "Dr. Morales, your weapon has bought us a reprieve. How quickly can you deploy additional platforms?" "We've already begun retrofitting our satellite network," Morales replied, his image flickering on the screen. "With the data from this first engagement, we can improve the efficiency by orders of magnitude. The Vexari won't know what hit them when they come back." "They will come back," Wright said solemnly. "This was just the first round." "Yes," Morales agreed, "but now they know humanity has teeth." As news of the successful counterattack spread, a wave of determination replaced the despair that had gripped Earth's population. In factories and laboratories around the world, humans began working feverishly to adapt the Thunderbolt technology for wider deployment. The Vexari had awakened something in humanity, a fierce determination to survive, to fight back against impossible odds. And for the first time since the invasion began, hope flickered to life in the hearts of Earth's defenders. In his command ship, Supreme Commander Vexter reviewed the battle footage with growing concern. The humans had concealed this weapon until they were pushed to the brink. What other surprises might they have hidden? The conquest of Earth had suddenly become complicated, and the Supreme Commander didn't like complications. "Send a message to the collective," he ordered. "Request reinforcements. This planet will require a more thorough approach." Little did he know that humanity was just beginning to reveal its true capabilities. The war for Earth had only just begun, and the day the aliens learned humanity was holding back would soon become a legend throughout the galaxy. Rise of the Terran Vanguard. Supreme Commander Vexter paced the command deck of his secondary flagship, the inevitable Conquest, his four arms clasped behind his back in a gesture of supreme agitation. The holographic display before him showed the remains of his once mighty invasion fleet, now reduced by nearly 30% after just 3 Earth days of renewed fighting. "This is unprecedented," he hissed to his war council. "These humans were primitives when we arrived. How could they possibly have developed technology capable of bypassing our shield harmonics?" Subcommander Zeril, still nursing wounds from a human counterattack that had breached his vessel, spoke carefully. "Our intelligence may have been incomplete, Supreme Commander. The humans appear to have been developing technologies in secret, away from their public scientific communities." "Or they had help," interjected Fleet Strategist Mevlara, her voice carrying the distinctive metallic undertone of the Vexari female caste. "Perhaps the Arcturians or the Nephilim Conquered have been supplying them with advanced technology." Vexthor dismissed the suggestion with an irritated flick of his upper right hand. "Impossible. Our surveillance of this sector has been thorough for decades. No other spacefaring civilization has made contact with Earth." He turned back to the tactical display. "No, this is something else. These humans are more resourceful than we anticipated." In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Lieutenant Darius Kane guided his stealth fighter through the debris field with precision that would have seemed impossible just weeks ago. The small craft, retrofitted with experimental Thunderbolt technology, was practically invisible to Vexari sensors. "Raptor Squadron, maintain formation," Kane ordered through his neural interface, a recent innovation that allowed pilots to communicate and control their craft through thought alone. "Target the supply convoy at coordinates 227 Mark 049. Remember, hit and fade. Don't give them time to triangulate our position." "Copy that, Raptor Lead," came the collective response from his squadron. 12 of Earth's best pilots flying the most advanced fighters humanity had ever produced. Kane had been a test pilot before the invasion, pushing experimental aircraft to their limits in the upper atmosphere. Now, he was leading guerrilla raids against alien supply lines, using the asteroid belt as cover for lightning-fast attacks that left the Vexari confused and disoriented. "Weapons hot," Kane announced as they approached the convoy of Vexari resource ships. "On my mark, 3, 2, 1, engage." The squadron emerged from the asteroid field like avenging angels, their Thunderbolt-enhanced weapons slicing through the Vexari escort's shields as if they were paper. Kane's fighter targeted the lead transport, a massive vessel carrying refined metals from Mars that the Vexari had begun mining. "Commander, we've got company," his AI co-pilot alerted. "Vexari response team inbound, 6 heavy fighters approaching from Vector 330. Kane smiled grimly behind his helmet. "Right on schedule. Raptors 3 through 6, continue the attack on the convoy. The rest of you, form up on me. Let's introduce our friends to the new Thunderbolt Mark II missiles." The human fighters executed a perfect split maneuver, half continuing their attack on the helpless transports, while Kane led the others toward the approaching Vexari reinforcements. The alien pilots, confident in their technological superiority, didn't bother with evasive maneuvers, a fatal mistake. "Fox 3, Kane announced calmly as he released a volley of missiles. The projectiles streaked toward the Vexari formation, seemingly conventional warheads until the moment of impact. Then, in a brilliant flash of blue-white energy, the Thunderbolt technology activated, bypassing shields and tearing through the alien vessel's hull plating. In under 5 minutes, the entire convoy and its reinforcements had been reduced to expanding clouds of debris. Kane allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before issuing new orders. "All units, mission accomplished. Scatter and rendezvous at Callisto Base in 24 hours. As his fighter accelerated away from the battlefield, Kane couldn't help but reflect on how quickly humanity had adapted. Just 1 month ago, they had been on the brink of extinction. Now, they were taking the fight to the enemy in ways the Vexari clearly hadn't anticipated. Back on Earth, in the expanded Antarctic facility, Dr. Javier Morales stood before a gathering of the world's top scientists, military leaders, and government officials. The chamber, hastily excavated to accommodate the growing operation, hummed with the energy of breakthrough innovation. The Vexari's primary advantage was their shield technology, Morales explained, gesturing to the holographic display showing the alien energy barrier patterns. What we've discovered is that their shields operate on a principle of phase harmonic resonance. They're designed to deflect or absorb energy that matches expected weapon signatures. Admiral Wright leaned forward, and our Thunderbolt technology doesn't match anything in their database. Precisely, Morales nodded. By tapping into zero-point energy, we're essentially attacking them with a form of energy their shields were never designed to counter. It's like bringing a completely new weapon to a battlefield where everyone has spent centuries developing defenses against conventional arms. Dr. Tanika Nkosi stepped forward, her usual reserved demeanor replaced by barely contained excitement. But we've gone beyond just weapons now. Our latest breakthrough allows us to apply Thunderbolt principles to propulsion and communications as well. She activated another display, showing a new design for human spacecraft. These vessels can achieve speeds the Vexari would consider impossible without their jump gates. More importantly, we've developed a method of instantaneous communication using quantum entanglement enhanced by zero-point energy fields. You're saying we can coordinate our forces faster than they can, Wright summarized. Much faster, Nkosi confirmed, and they won't be able to intercept or jam our communications. The implications weren't lost on anyone in the room. Humanity had not only found a way to fight back, they were rapidly gaining technological parity with their would-be conquerors. How quickly can we deploy these advancements? Asked General Hector Ramirez, representing what remained of Earth's combined military forces. Morales exchanged glances with Nkosi before answering. The new communication system is already being implemented across our fleet. The enhanced propulsion systems will take longer, perhaps 2 weeks to retrofit existing vessels. But there's something else you should know. He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. We believe the Vexari are calling for reinforcements. Our long-range sensors have detected unusual activity at the edge of the solar system, consistent with the preparation of a jump gate large enough to bring in a much more substantial fleet. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Their recent victories, impressive as they were, had been against what was essentially an advance force. The real test was yet to come. Admiral Wright broke the silence. Then we need to be ready. General Ramirez, coordinate with Lieutenant Kane's squadron leaders to begin hit-and-run attacks on any Vexari construction efforts. Dr. Morales, I want every ship we have equipped with your breakthroughs as quickly as possible. And Dr. Nkosi. I'm already working on the next generation of Thunderbolt technology, she interrupted with a determined smile. The Vexari won't know what hit them. 3 weeks later, the anticipated Vexari reinforcements arrived. A fleet 3 times the size of the original invasion force, led by Grand Admiral K-Vex himself, the highest-ranking military officer in the Vexari Collective and Vexther's direct superior. You have embarrassed the Collective, Vexther, K-Vex stated coldly as they met aboard the Mammoth Command ship Eternal Dominance. This should have been a standard Class 3 conquest. Instead, I find you hiding in the outer reaches of the system, having lost nearly half your original force to a species that had barely achieved spaceflight. Vexther's scales dulled in humiliation, but he maintained his composure. With respect, Grand Admiral, these humans are unlike any species we've encountered before. They learn and adapt at an alarming rate. The technology they've deployed against us is nothing we cannot overcome with proper application of force, K-Vex interrupted. I have brought 200 warships, including 20 planet crackers. We will not waste time with careful conquest now. We will make an example of Earth. 2 continents will be reduced to ash as a demonstration. If they do not surrender immediately afterward, we will continue until their civilization is erased. Vexther wanted to object, not out of mercy for the humans, but because he sensed that K-Vex was underestimating them just as he had initially. However, he knew better than to contradict the Grand Admiral directly. As you command, he said instead, bowing his head in deference. What neither of them realized was that every word of their conversation was being transmitted directly to Admiral Wright's command center. Thanks to the quantum infiltration devices Lieutenant Kane's squadron had planted on key Vexari vessels during their raids. "They're planning to hit us with everything they have," Wright announced to the assembled Earth Defense Council. 200 ships, including 20 with planet-cracking capabilities. Instead of panic, the announcement was met with grim determination. Earth's forces had grown substantially in the weeks since the initial invasion, with Thunderbolt technology now integrated into everything from handheld weapons to massive orbital platforms. "What's our play, Admiral?" asked Lieutenant Kane, recently promoted to commander after his successful campaign in the asteroid belt. Wright turned to a holographic display of the solar system. "They'll expect us to concentrate our defenses around Earth. Instead, we'll meet them at Saturn." "Saturn?" General Ramirez questioned. "Why so far out?" "Because of these," Wright replied, zooming in on Saturn's magnificent rings. "Dr. Morales, would you explain?" The scientist stepped forward. "We've seeded Saturn's rings with thousands of Thunderbolt mines, devices that are virtually undetectable until activated. Additionally, we've positioned our newest weapon behind Titan." The display shifted to show a massive construction, unlike anything humans had built before. "The Excalibur Array," Morales continued. "It concentrates the output of 50 Thunderbolt generators into a single beam capable of cutting through multiple capital ships at once. The Vexari will have to approach through the rings to reach Earth efficiently. When they do, we spring the trap." Commander Kane whistled low. "That's bold, Admiral, but what if they bypass Saturn entirely?" "Then we have contingencies," Wright assured him. "But they won't. Their tactical doctrine is too rigid. They'll take the most direct route to demonstrate their overwhelming force. Their arrogance will be their downfall." The battle for Saturn unfolded exactly as Admiral Wright had predicted. The Vexari fleet, confident in their superior numbers, approached through the rings in tight formation, their massive planet crackers protected in the center of their armada. What followed was not so much a battle as a slaughter, but not in the way the Vexari had anticipated. As their lead ships entered the densest section of the rings, thousands of mines activated simultaneously, creating a web of Thunderbolt energy that shredded their shields and hulls alike. Before they could recover from the initial shock, the Excalibur Array fired from behind Titan, its concentrated beam cutting a swath through the heart of the Vexari formation and destroying 15 capital ships in a single shot, including 3 of their precious planet crackers. Earth's fleet, hidden in strategic positions throughout Saturn's many moons, emerged to engage the disoriented Vexari forces at point-blank range. Human ships, once hopelessly outmatched, now fought on equal terms thanks to their rapidly advancing technology. In the chaos, Commander Kane led a specially equipped strike team directly against the Vexari flagship, bypassing its external defenses by using short-range Thunderbolt jumps, essentially teleporting small groups of soldiers aboard the enemy vessel. "Grand Admiral," a panicked subordinate reported to KVEX, "humans have breached our inner perimeter. They're on board." Before KVEX could respond, the bridge doors exploded inward, and Commander Kane stepped through the smoke, leading a team of Earth's elite forces equipped with Thunderbolt-enhanced combat suits. "Grand Admiral KVEX," Kane announced, his voice amplified by his suit systems. "In the name of the people of Earth, I'm hereby accepting your unconditional surrender." KVEX stared in disbelief. This is impossible. You were primitives. How could you advance so quickly?" Kane removed his helmet, revealing a face hardened by weeks of guerrilla warfare but still unmistakably human. "You should have done your homework before invading our world. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to adapt, to overcome, to turn disadvantage into advantage. You pushed us to the brink of extinction, and in doing so, forced us to evolve beyond anything we thought possible." The defeat of the Vexari reinforcement fleet marked the true turning point in the war. With their Grand Admiral captured and nearly half their invasion force destroyed at Saturn, the remaining Vexari commanders had little choice but to retreat from the solar system entirely. In the aftermath, Earth's leaders gathered to determine humanity's next steps. The unanimous decision was to establish the Terran Vanguard, a combined military and exploratory force dedicated to securing humanity's place among the stars and ensuring that no alien power would ever threaten Earth again. Admiral Elena Wright, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, addressed the first graduating class of the newly established Vanguard Academy. The Vexari made a critical error when they attacked Earth. They assumed that because our technology was less advanced, we were less advanced. They failed to recognize that technology is merely a tool. It's the mind wielding that tool that truly matters. She gazed out at the faces before her, young men and women from every corner of the globe, united in their commitment to protecting humanity's future. In just 3 months, we've gone from a pre-interstellar civilization to one capable of defeating one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. Imagine what we'll achieve in the years to come. As Earth's first true interstellar vessels prepared to leave the solar system, ships equipped with Thunderbolt jump drives capable of crossing vast distances in moments, humanity looked to the stars not with fear, but with confidence. The day the aliens learned humanity was holding back had become the day humanity stepped onto the galactic stage as equals. And across the vast expanse of space, other civilizations began to take notice of the newcomers who had defied all expectations. The species that had not only survived its first contact with the Vexari collective, but had emerged stronger for it. The age of human expansion had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.